Hi, my name is Emily Iverson, and today I'll be presenting about censorship. Censorship of explicit content is aimed at protecting students from exposure to controversial content, though it violates the freedom of speech of authors and shelters children from the realities of modern life, and restricts the fundamental freedom of expression. Censorship is defined as suppressing or removing anything deemed objectionable. Censorship may be against children's rights as humans, but also protects them at the same time. Opposing sides believe that censorship protects them from harmful content. Others believe that it takes away rights and shelters them from the realities of life. FCC puts laws into place that classifies each material as indecent, obscene, or profane. Obscene material is considered to cause an average person to have lustful or sexual thoughts. It may depict lawfully offensive sexual content. It usually applies to hardcore pornography. It also may be defined as lacking literacy, artistic, political, or scientific value to the reader. Indecent material is protected by the First Amendment. It cannot be banned entirely, and it contains graphic sexual or excretory depictions, dwells on length of depictions of sexual or excretory organs, and is simply used to shock or arouse the audience. Indecent material would be considered late-night shows that come on once children are expected for bed, for less chance of them being exposed. So as when we grow up, at about 10 or 11 o'clock, the channels usually switch over to more adult shows. Some parents allow their children to watch it, some don't. It really goes against their beliefs it goes with their beliefs if they feel like their children should be exposed to those type of shows. I know when I grew up, I was always watching like George Lopez and those kinds of shows. It also goes off of such things as rated R, G, PG, the different ones as to if children are allowed to go to the shows with or without their parents, if they need a parent present, or if they're for the whole family. Book challenges in the United Censorship has become an increasing issue amongst society in the last few years. Book challenges in the United States have become increasingly challenged in the past 2 years alone. Parents and other members of society have organized groups to try to reduce the amount of harmful material that is included in the content of the books their children may read. Some want to limit the types of books available in schools due to the material that is written in the books. Other groups target more authors of the books to change the content of the books that they may be writing and want them to change their genre in general, including exclusion of materials that touch on race or LGBTQ themes. Age appropriateness is a big reason for the challenges to library resources. It's hard to make sure that all of the books are age appropriate or are not including things that they shouldn't be reading. Monitoring things that ban books shows what topics are targeted more by these groups. The most predominant categories are themes related to sexual orientation, gender identity, or race. Censorship aims to protect students from certain aspects of life, but at the same time goes against their rights as humans and Americans. Freedom of speech is a right each American citizen has, no matter the age, once they are born. Part of being a teacher or librarian is defending the students' freedom of expression, including their freedom to read. Freedom of expression is a human right included in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which we learned a few chapters ago, and I believe it was number 19. School members, included in reading, should try to embody the core values of librarianship, stewardship, service, intellectual freedom, rationalism, literacy, learning, and equity of access. So access to the same amount of books that everyone is, or having the same kind of mindset for every school member. Parents, educators, and society have the welfare of children at the top of their worries. It's the first thing they're thinking about. Each one may have their own opinion of what to worry about with them. Each family may have different viewpoints on the situation, so they teach their kids in a different way to believe. Some families may not have similar views, and this can cause bias and personal opinions to get in the way of facts. Some believe that their kids are responsible and old enough to watch these certain shows or read these certain books, and some families believe that their kids may should not be around it at all. Like me per se, where I grew up, it was kind of every kid my age kind of already knew about a lot about life, so they didn't really hold back any shows from us. Issues with censorship can cause major clashes and issues within society. Some states have had tension, threats, and defunding surrounded by content and censorship. Some content is intended to be censored because the effect it may have on children, per se, like scary movies where there might be too much blood and gore. That's understandable that children shouldn't watch it. But different families have different opinions, and this is kind of a clash of opinions and how they feel about the situation. Extremely graphic sexual content that is far from age appropriate for young audiences is an understandable argument to continue to protect children from seeing this content at such young ages. There is no specific age stated in these articles of when should be an appropriate age. There is some content that does not need to be hidden from children, but if it affects them mentally, there's a huge issue for concern. Schools have had to cancel performers and get rid of books from libraries as residents of the town threaten staff and accuse them of grooming within the libraries. An example is in Campbell County Public Library in Wyoming, which is around the Gillette area, over books featuring sex education and LGBTQ content. Library officials also canceled the appearance of the magician who was transgender after threats were made to the magician and staff. When I was in school, we were taught about sex education around the age of 14, so it changes constantly of what the rules are or should be around, depending on people's opinions. In 2022, a group of Idaho residents accused the Meriden Library of distributing smut-filled pornography to children. Concerned citizens of Meriden attended a Meriden Library Board meeting and accused library staff of grooming the children that were attending the library. There's a fine line between protecting children and going against human rights. They do have the right to read, they have the right of freedom of speech, they have all these rights, and censorship in a way can go against those rights if they're being withheld from certain information or certain books. Society tends to get feelings and opinions in the way of safety and understanding. They're often causing lots of disruption between the difference of the bad content and the good content, or what children may need to be learning. I feel like there needs to be more defined positions and meanings of harmful and unharmful content as to what should be deemable for children of what they should watch and not watch. Censorship violates the freedom of speech but aims to protect students from harmful content while sheltering them from the realities of life. Have you ever witnessed conflicts with censorship within your community or your school or even your job? And what are your thoughts on censorship? Do we need to push for it more, or is it going too far? Or what should the rules be defined as for protecting children, or if it's going too far against their rights?